Hello again and welcome to Spotlight. I'm Al Grinov, and today we will talk about the history of the Second World War. We will tell you the unique story and the record of world secret services. The Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler, who unleashed the war, worked out an operation to eliminate Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, Britain's Premier Winston Churchill, and US President Franklin Roosevelt, who came together at a conference in Tehran in 1943. Due to the efforts of the Soviet intelligence, the assassination attempt failed. The story became a plot for dozens of books and movies, but nobody knows it better than the man who actually saved the lives of the Big Three, the legendary spy who came from the cold, hero of the Soviet Union, Gevork Vartanyan.
The Soviets' victory over Germany came at a high price. The conflict which resulted from the German invasion of the Soviet Union was so ferocious it's difficult to comprehend the sufferings endured by both Soviet soldiers and the people. Despite exceptional levels of deprivation and loss, the Soviets kept fighting and many millions gave up their lives for this cause. However, the Soviets defeated the Germans and marched on the Brandenburg Gates in Berlin while Germany counted the cost of its actions. The 9th of May, which is a victory day in Russia, is a national holiday which commemorates the defeat of Nazi Germany in the Second World War and honors the 20 million Soviets who died. On this day, flowers are laid on their grave and veterans parade the streets wearing their medals and orders with pride. Gevork Vartanyan, an 84-year-old former Soviet intelligence officer, is here today to remind us all of the great sacrifices that were made in the name of liberty.
Hello, Mr. Vartanyan, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being with us. Well, Mr. Vartanyan, we know that the idea, the will to eliminate the three big leaders belonged to Hitler, but who actually worked out the plot to assassinate the three in Tehran?
Well, the Germans were plotting to eliminate these three, but I hope we did our best to prevent it, and I hope we succeeded it.
But I know that in 1966, Otto Scarceni said that he was the person who actually masterminded the German plan. Is that true? Do you know anything about it?
Right? Yeah, right.
So Scarceni was one of the favorite Hitler's guys to do things like that.
Yeah. He also saved Mussolini in Abruzzo when he was prisoner there. And after that, Hitler was hoped that Scarceni will do it the same in Tehran, but he didn't succeed in it.
And also the whole operation was supervised by Kaltenbrunner, the head of the German Secret Service, is that right? Yeah. And what was the plan? What was the plot? Can you tell us about it?
The plot was to kill them three or just kidnap them, one or the other. That's why they were preparing everything to do that. And they also, for that task, Scarceni was headed this operation. And first, during the fascist plan, they sent there about 6 persons, radio managers, radio operation, and our group was fortunate to find them out, and when they connected with Berlin, we were all there talking over the radio.
You intercepted the radio communication.
And we exactly followed that what they are planning to do.
How did you know, how did Moscow find out about this plot?
Well, that was our Kuznetsov, who was working in Medvedev, was a partisan. Can you say that in English? Yeah. And he was the first to know about that plot, and he acknowledged Moscow, and Moscow sent it to Tehran. And at that time, the head of the intelligence was Agayan Ivan Ivanich, and a very intelligent person, about 30, 32 years old.
And he was the head of Russian intelligence.
Exactly.
Was it military intelligence?
No.
Or the KGB?
No, KGB, yes. And he was working there from 1941 up to 1945, Agayans. And he headed all the operation, and he succeeded in it.
Can you tell us a bit more? What was the German plan? Were they going to shoot the leaders, or how were they planning to kidnap them? Because when the three leaders of the three great nations come together in a conference in Tehran, there's very heavy security, a lot of military, a lot of people. So what was the German idea?
The idea, they first of all, they thought that maybe they can succeed in kidnapping them. If not, then just kill them over there. And the plan was planned on the November 30th. It was the birthday of Churchill. He was 69 at that time. The plan was that enter there and just kill them, all three.
Did the leaders, I mean Churchill, Roosevelt and Stalin, did they know that their life is in danger when they went to Tehran?
That I can't tell surely, but maybe they were acknowledged, or maybe not. I don't know that exactly.
But is it true that Churchill was offered to stay not in the British embassy but in the Russian embassy together with Stalin?
But Roosevelt was not.
Roosevelt, yes,
not Churchill, because the embassy of America was very far away, and it was dangerous every day to come and go back and right, and so that's what Roosevelt agreed to stay. Of course, Churchill was not very pleased with that idea, but Roosevelt stayed in Soviet embassy, and it was very comfortable. Why? Because Soviet embassy and English embassy just were on the same street,
opposite each other.
Just opposite each other, and they made a hole in British embassy wall and in Soviet embassy, and they were just making passage to go forth, and it was very safely for them, I think.
Okay, now I know that years later you met the daughter of Winston Churchill, Celia Sanders. What did she have to tell you?
Exactly, it was very nice of her to come over to Moscow and thank me for saving the life of her grandfather, Churchill. It was in November, last November, just last November, and I appreciate her coming here, and I told her that it was nice of her to come, and after 64 years to thank me about that event. And they told me, she told me that she's making a film about Churchill and Stalin, named Bear and Lion.
The Bear and the Lion.
Yeah, Bear is Stalin and Lion is Churchill. And they of course they took the picture of her and me, and she told me that she will send me when it will be.
We all saw the movie. It was a famous Soviet movie called Tehran 43, about this plot and about the attempts of the Russian Soviet intelligence to save the lives of the big three.
Exactly.
Is it really showing how the things really happened in real life, or is it more like a spy movie?
You know, it is a big fantasy. Well, you can understand them, because if it won't be so, they won't get the people, you know, to see it.
The audience.
Yes, it's natural, but the only true event there was that when they tried to go to British embassy through the water supply in embassy. But we just stopped it also. They didn't succeed to do that.
And you are well known as the man who actually broke the German plan, who actually saved the life. What was your personal role in the operation? Because there was a whole group of people working for the Russians.
Course.
But what was your personal role?
Well, I had a group of 7 persons, young people like me, about 17, 18 years old at that time, and we were, how to say, it was a fortune that we were the first to find out when they dropped this from parachute, these 6 people, radio operator. We just succeeded in saying where they are, just made their home in Tehran, because they were dropped about Qum. There was a holy city in Tehran, in Iran. Dropped there, it's about 70 kilometers from Tehran, and they come to Tehran and succeeded to a villa, and they make a radio connection with Berlin. And we just shared our information with British and succeeded in cutting.
So your group were the ones who were lucky to actually witness the descent of those paratroopers.
Exactly.
And then you traced the group.
Traced the group up to Tehran.
Up to Tehran.
Yes, and they made a contact with Berlin over radio.
And the radio connection was intercepted.
Exactly.
And that helped. And that actually helped.
Of course, because they succeeded to inform Germans that they are under supervision. Yes, and that's why they didn't send the second group of terrorists who was headed by Skorzeny.
Because they knew the operation will fail anyway.
Failed, that's why
so Skorzeny didn't have a chance to even move in.
That's why they did it. They tried the second operation just through the water to get to a British embassy.
What we saw in the film.
Exactly. That's what the truth. But shooting over in the film, it was never an intelligence serviceman using gun. We never used in our...
Says Gevork Vartanyan, who actually saved lives of Stalin, Churchill and Roosevelt in Tehran in 1943. Spotlight will be back shortly after a break, so stay with us on Russia Today.
To get a fuller picture, don't miss it on RT and our website. Immediately after World War II, former allies turned into ideological enemies. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were the first cities demolished by a new fatal weapon. For the United States and Great Britain, the next target was the USSR. So getting its own bomb was a matter of survival for the Soviet Union. How did the deadliest weapon in history stop the superpowers on the edge of the real end of the world? Find out on RT.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Al Grinov, and just a reminder that our guest today is a legendary Soviet intelligence officer, a man who actually saved the lives of Stalin, Churchill and Roosevelt in Tehran back in 1943, Mr. Gevork Vartanyan. Mr. Vartanyan, well, you said that actually your group in Tehran during the international conference was lucky because you first traced the descent of the German paratroopers and then intercepted their radio communication and, didn't let the main group of German terrorists, the Otto Skorzeny group, to move into Tehran and kidnap or shoot the three leaders of the three great nations. But there were other groups. How many Russians? We read in the papers and in the history books that there were about like 100 German spies and like 200 Soviet spies, like two whole secret armies against each other in Tehran. Is that true?
You know what? Before the Second World War, there was about 20,000 Germans in Iran.
20,000?
20,000
intelligence?
With the family, not
just Germans?
Yeah, just Germans. But of course, most of them were intelligent people who were preparing Iran to get in war with Russia, but they didn't succeed. Why? Because in 1941, before that, our group was working over them, and we succeeded. Only our group succeeded in discover about 400 agents who were working for.
You mean your group, the Soviet intelligence in Tehran?
Yes.
The group headed by Kuznetsov and
No.
Before that?
Before that, the group that was headed by me, we succeeded in discover about 400 agents who were connected with German intelligence. They were generals, ministers, deputy of parliament, and other high stated people, and so, but we couldn't touch them because that time our army wasn't there. But in 1941, in August, when our army entered Tehran and British army also entered from the south, we succeeded to catch them all, of this 400%. Many of them we just gave to the British. Some of them we changed them and they started working for us. And those little persons who remained and they were very stable, they didn't agree to work with us. They were just sent to Russia, but they continued to work with them, our intelligence. And after Stalingrad and Kursk, they changed their mind and they offered their services to us. So many of...
You know, today, even in our country, there are many disputes about the role of Joseph Stalin in the Second World War, in the Great Patriotic War, which we call the war Russia against Germany. Some people say, for example, that the first couple of weeks he was completely not himself, like hiding somewhere, crying, drinking, and so on. What is your attitude? How would you characterize the role of Stalin?
You know, I think he had a big role in this world.
Really?
Second, yes. Because with his name was connected, people believed in him. And now, of course, they're writing anything they can do, because when people is not alive, he can't answer to himself. Yeah, exactly. You can write everything about him. But I think he did a big job during the World War II.
But do you think that if there would be a different person, not Stalin, but I don't know, Beria or Molotov or somebody else was in the position of the leader of the Soviet Union, the General Secretary, do you think the war may have went differently?
I don't think so, because the last word was Russian people, always. And I hope and I know that the Russian people were always defending their country because they're big patriots. And nobody, if you go to history 100 years ago, nobody can defeat Russia. They tried many times but never succeeded in it. So people love their country, love their homeland, and they always were.
So the role of Stalin wasn't really in his own personality, but because he happened to be the head of the Soviet Union at that time.
I think so. But that was the stories about that he was lost himself during the beginning of the war. I think it's all.
But still, there was something special about Joseph Stalin. We know that Churchill, Roosevelt, many foreign leaders, they really respected Joseph Stalin.
Exactly.
What was so special about his personality that made his enemies, his potential class enemies, as he called them, still respect him?
If you read the memories of Churchill or the son of Roosevelt, so you can see that I really have big respect for Stalin, because whenever he said his word was exactly that what he was telling. If he promised something, he was doing that. And we saw that during the World War II. I think he's the man who has the respect for that time, I think. If before he did something that wasn't correct exactly during the 37, 38, all right, I am agreed with that. But you can't judge...
mass repressions in Russia.
Yes, but you can't judge the people or person only found 1-2 years. You have to take the whole history and see what was doing. Russia was nothing.
Okay, another thing about history is that today, when we talk to people abroad, we find out that we have to explain to the younger generations the role Russia played in the Second World War, because the younger generations today, they seem to not really understand that the war was really won by Russia, and mostly by Russia, and not by the others. And if it wasn't for the Russian people and for the 20 or 30 million people, Russians that died during the war, the world wouldn't be the same today. Do you find it difficult to have to explain to people?
I don't find it difficult. Just we never work about that. I hope now we start to work with the young generation. Let them know what was the real exact history at that time. But now everybody has forgetting what we were doing. So the same is happening in Britain. The granddaughter of Churchill told me that young generation, they even don't know who is the Churchill. And this year, she told me that British government prohibited to write about Churchill, that he was existed at that time in the history. I don't know. Is it really like that or no? I don't.
No, I doubt that. This is very strange.
Really, very strange. It was very strange to me to hear that.
Well,
from very books, she said they throw.
I visited at least 2 Churchill museums. One Churchill's bunker in London, and the other one in Liverpool. I visited it, and it's there as a museum.
Churchill also did a big service to his country, I think.
So they want to. They would like to think what, that Margaret Thatcher done it or what?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I read one of your interviews in which you said, I quote, "Great Britain's intelligence service is wise but very mean." What did you mean by saying that?
Well, during the World War II, British was our friend, ally in the World War II.
In the anti-Hitler coalition.
Exactly. But in Tehran, at that time, it was 1942, they made a school where they were teaching the people, young people generally, to be a spy for them. And they were sending them to Russia.
To Soviet Union.
To Soviet Union. Caucasus region, and also in Middle East, that region.
You were for sure.
I was one who entered this school, and I started to learn there, and they tried to make me a spy for them, for spying in Russia. The courses were 6 months. After 6 months, they were sending, who was graduated, to India, and they preparing them with the parachute manner, and so they, with parachute, they not dropped, as you say, but just in Russia. So I was one who was in this school, so it is quite true. And during my studying in this school, I find out many of people who were graduated from the school before me. Of course, we knew exactly everything about them. They were photographed, everything, and when they were sent to Russia, they were exactly captured by our intelligence service, and they made them to work for Russia against British.
And you entered the school as an Iranian?
An Iranian, of course.
So you had a chance to get a good British education?
Exactly, and I'm very thankful to this British school, because many things I learned there that I never knew, and it helped me for my future work.
Including some things about the British intelligence.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a reminder that our guest today was a legendary Soviet intelligence officer, hero of the Soviet Union, Gevork Vartanyan. And that's it for now from all of us here. If you want to have your say on Spotlight or have someone in mind who you think I should interview next time, please drop me a line at algorithnov@rttv.ru and we'll keep the show interactive. We'll be back tomorrow with more first-hand comments on what's going on in and outside Russia. Until then, stay on Russia Today and take care.